How's it going, guys? I just wanted to know what your changes are going to be for professions for the new expansion. Are you guys going to fix up the profession bonuses? Because I know that gathering professions, they really don't give too much, but as for crafting professions, you get like pretty much the best stuff. So you have to pretty much get two crafting professions in order to min-max. Is there any changes that we can look forward to?
I mean, that's the kind of thing we'll always take a look at. We don't have any sweeping changes to those perks that you get from those professions. We want, ultimately, we don't want min-max players to feel like taking a gathering profession is a mistake. At the same time, we know a lot of players get frustrated that they spend all this effort on, say, blacksmithing or enchanting or something, and then it doesn't give them enough power at max level. Professions, the kind of thing over and over, we hear from players who say, my profession isn't good enough. You know, everyone else is okay, but it's time for a little love for me. So it's really hard to hit that sweet spot where they feel cool, but still not mandatory.
Also, with professions, if our quivers for hunters, if quivers are going to be displayable, will then leatherworking go ahead and be able to make quivers again or ammo bags?
We're not sure exactly what the delivery mechanism will be for those slots. It's not the kind of thing where we'd make like 20 quivers a patch or something like that. We want it to be a more of a cosmetic and a reward. So we're still talking about the exact way to get that for the player.
Yeah, and from a visual side too, like we were literally just talking about how we want to add those things to all classes. So, you know, ammo pouches and quivers for hunters and tomes for paladins, and I think we need to kind of carry that across all classes and make them very unique and find a way to do that in a way where it's cool for gameplay but also works for the visual capacity. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hi there. My question is about transmog and items that you can no longer acquire in the game anymore. In specific, I have a priest with a benediction staff, and the quest for that was removed. And my question is, I'm very excited to be able to transmog that as bragging rights, and I'd be worried that you're going to open up models such as that to other players to transmog when it's really something that people who worked really hard at level 60 to acquire can hold that as bragging rights over the players who maybe didn't.
Yeah, situations like that are really tough because, as you said, some players went to the effort and want to make sure they, get recognition of the fact that they did it when it was hard. But then there are other, surely no one got rid of their benediction, but there are definitely cases along the way where people had no idea we were going to do transmogrification. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said we would ever do it. And so we want to make sure that people who got rid of stuff as they thought they were supposed to aren't overly penalized either. So just off the top of my head, one way we've solved that problem in the past is by offering the model with a different texture or something so that you can tell the difference between the benediction that, was from when it was hard or the new one. We did something similar with the Zulaban bear mount.
All right, thank you.
Hi there. I'm Iris from the guild Tempest on Windrunner. And thanks, Adam. I would like to say, on behalf of all Ret Paladins, sorry for crying all day, every day on the forums. It's ridiculous. Thank you for doing your best to balance a class that's constantly changing. And I'll give you the respect for that. If you can deliver the RNG changes that you promised to make us more regular in our DPS so that we don't have a 5K window, then I'll be content. My biggest issue looking at this, though, is that with the 90 tier on our new talent tree, there's an obvious choice for Ret in the Holy Avenger ability, I believe it's called, which looks just like a flat DPS up because of that holy power acquisition. If you give us that, our DPS is going to skyrocket, and then we're going to get the nerf bat again, and we're going to completely reset this cycle of hatred. Just don't nerf us, don't buff us, please. We're so close to being balanced for the first time since ever. So just let it happen. Get rid of that. Let us be at peace. I'm fine with middle DPS.
I'm not sure that was a question, but it was very moving, so thank you. I mean, if your question was about the level 90 tier, then the intent is that all three of those powers be relatively similar DPS increases or throughput if you're a healer. And we feel like we have enough knobs there to hit those spots. You know, the numbers we put up today haven't been through PTR, haven't been through rigorous testing, so we can continue to tweak things. There's no saying that Guardian of Ancient Kings needs to last the same duration or have the same cooldown that it does today. And we have ways of buffing the other two as well.
Thank you.
Hi, my question is about wind shear. Now, you're nerfing it for resto PvP. Do you intend to have them make a trade-off or to not let them have it?
I think ideally we don't want them to have it.
Okay, in that case, why don't you just hardwire it into the spec masteries so then enhancement and elemento don't have any effect?
I mean, that would have been another way to go. It's tricky when we make changes like this, and this is a fairly big change, to not feel to players like we're redesigning everything. And when their talents change is one level of change, when their passives change, when core mechanics change. This one, by tweaking the talents, we thought was a pretty easy change that players would kind of get, and yet still leave them the option if they really feel like they're dependent on wind shear, they can still get it today. In 5.0, that may be a good opportunity to just take it away from them, and I don't know if we've made that decision yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, I have a question. Will there be any craftable mounts in Mr. Pandaria? And will you be able to attack on your mount to anyone on the opposing faction? By any chance?
Will you be able to attack someone on a mount?
Yes.
Yeah, probably not.
And what about craftable mounts?
Yeah, we've talked about a craftable mount. John would probably kill me if I said anything more right now, but we have a pretty exciting idea.
Can you divulge? Come on.
Maybe jewel crafting?
Really? Really?
I said maybe.
Maybe? Okay.
Maybe herbalism?
What a horse!
A shout out to Rebellion on Cho'Gall. My first question, though, only question, is an age-old question. Green fire for warlocks, is that possibility in Mr. Pandaria?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Let me explain. Technically, we came up with the design for the minor glyphs, and one of the very first things we wanted to do is change spell effects, which we thought would be really cool. You know, I think we even talked about, the blue fireball or green, things like that. And technically, it's just very hard for us to do that right now. We basically have to make an entire copy of the spell, which I know is a lame excuse because it doesn't directly affect you guys, but it is something we just have to solve first before we can let players customize their spells to that level, which I think would be really cool. Now, we could always offer Warlocks another spell that was just green colored, and the Warlock rotations have changed quite a bit. We could only touch on a little bit in the panels here, but we're hoping fairly soon to have talent trees, spec descriptions, all of that stuff up on our website, and you guys can kind of dive into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I had two quick questions. First off, I know you guys really don't like warriors, so I'm just wondering, Heroic Leap, can we fix it? And I guess you could ask my second question now. It's kind of a lore question. It's from my girlfriend. There really hasn't been a large representation of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender characters in the World of Warcraft lore. Are there any chances to change that in the future?
You want me to go first? You want to think about it for a minute? You want me to go first? Do you think about it for a minute?
I'll be able to think about it if you go first.
Heroic Leap if you remember, we originally were going to do Heroic Leap, and then we pulled it, and then we tried to do it again. It's movement like that is just hard for our game, to be frank, and it's the kind of thing we keep working on. It's a cool ability. We want it to be better. It has its biggest problems when you try to change elevation, and the reason we keep having to clamp down on it is because mean players try to get to places they're not supposed to get by using Heroic Leap, which unfortunately makes it hard for all of us when you can't jump very much in altitude. When you use it on a flat space, it generally works pretty well. I know there are a lot of places in Battlegrounds, for example, going up an incline where it fails, and that's frustrating, and definitely want to improve.
I think for part 2, like there aren't any, I don't know, like we have how many quest designers? Probably 7? So I mean, there's a lot of people that plug away on story for this thing, and certainly also like our CDev department's always chasing fiction and hooking characters and stuff like that, and we totally appreciate every component of our audience and want the game to kind of sing to everybody. So off the top of my head, I don't know if we're currently developing, you know, gay or lesbian characters, but it's certainly a possibility. You know, as long as the story is compelling, you know, I think everything's gravy. As long as it's just a really good character, well-rendered character that you know, people really respond to. So I think it's totally an open possibility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my question is in regards to the benefits and negatives of 10 and 25-man raids. It seems that in a 10-man model, there are huge negatives with class representation, wasted loot, like you can get all male for an entire run. And I was wondering if there's a possibility of maybe moving the 10-man model to a 15-man model to have more representation, more balance on the developer side for raid mechanics. And if not, maybe making some kind of smart loot system that would disallow, for instance, mail to drop if you didn't have any male users in your raid.
I think it's more likely that we would go down the road of trying to make the loot dropping slightly, vaguely intelligent. Going up to a 15-man raid, while it's actually something that we've discussed on occasion, is very difficult for players, right? Because if you got your 10-man guild out there and you've got your steady core group of raiders, it's really hard to say, oh, by the way, you're going to have to recruit another 5 to keep doing the same kind of thing you've been doing before. Especially if it's for the reasons of, you know, that way you're more likely to have somebody that wants the mail. That's sort of a hard thing for people to swallow.
Thank you.
Thank you.